Mykolaiv and what needs to be restored. So our next video is about it. Please pay attention to the screen.
Фінансові втрати, матеріальні.
Financial losses, material losses. But you know, sometimes you lose, sometimes you win. And what we have lost in material and financial sense. So despite these losses, we gain something in terms of resilience, in terms of creativity, and in terms of ability not just to plan, but to actually implement our vision. And right now, we are going to talk about some of the more key projects. They include City Project Tracker, Innovative District, and Residential District. And I would kindly invite the Director of Economic Development Department under Mykolaiv City Council, Mr. Tena Shurichenko, to moderate this discussion. Thank you, Mr. Andriy. Hello, dear partners. Thank you for joining us today. And thank you for being here for the whole day. And you've just seen the damages caused to the city of Mykolaiv due to never-ending shell fire and strikes by the Russian Federation against the city. And according to calculations by Kyiv School of Economy, the monetary losses sustained by the city are estimated as a huge amount, but we consider it not just as a lost but opportunity for engagement, partment, and future development of our city. Today, Mykolaiv is a unique city. It's unique in terms of its urban development, in terms of its economic planning as well. It uses the approaches and attitudes which are just being piloted in Ukraine, and thanks to our international partners, we finally have a chance to use this attitude. So the part of this event is about portfolio approach in blue economy development in the city of Mykolaiv. Now we would like to focus on the pilot project approach. We are working with it together with our reliable partner, European Economic Commission and the United Nations. And today the technical team we have cooperated with as part of this project is visiting Kyiv in order to present our developments and our outcomes as part of this project. So the first project will be presented, the first pilot project. The purpose of it is to track pilot project, track the implementation progress, and actually map it. People who so it will be presented by a technical expert, our good partner, and Keleskai, who will present this IT tool, and you will have a chance to ask him your questions during networking session. Mr. Leskai, please, the floor is yours.
Tatiana. Ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, it's a pleasure to address you today here and to try to explain and show the progress on one of the 5 components of the UN for Ukrainian Cities project, which is a project that is implemented by UNECE in cooperation with partners such as One Works that you heard beforehand for the city of Mykolaiv and Norman Foster Foundation for the city of Kharkiv. This project is funded by the German Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development and is also supported by GIZ. The platform, which I'm presenting here today, is being developed to address the challenges of Ukraine's reconstruction efforts, but particularly for the cities of Kharkiv and Mykolaiv. The goal is to create a tool that will bring transparency and strategic oversight over the complex process of rebuilding these cities. So, to give a bit of context, the platform is aiming at solving 2 main issues. First of all, would be ensuring that all interested stakeholders, including local governments, including donors, including the general population, but basically anyone who's interested in the topic, has accessibility and a clear understanding how the recovery process is progressing. Secondly, and this is quite important,
It's a
silos, but to rather show the progress of the implementation of the strategy of the city as a whole, which is work that's been done through our partners at One Work, so they have created a vision and a strategy for the city, not just singular projects overall. The platform is built on 4 pillars. The first one is transparency and visibility. So obviously the platforms try to ensure that all stages of reconstruction are visible and accessible to everyone. We would like, through the platform, to help promote donor trust, which is quite important in reconstruction efforts. Scalability and future growth is a main feature because right now we're working with Kharkiv and Mykolaiv, but the platform is designed in such a way that is scalable to other cities should there be demand in the future. And obviously, as I said, it's a community-focused solution. We are aiming at engaging local communities because by doing that, we ensure that, that they have an active role in the recovery of their cities and they also have a sense of ownership and responsibility toward the reconstruction efforts. I'd like to shortly talk about the technology involved in this platform. So we this is powered by advanced GIS technologies such as Esri's ArcGIS, Experience Builder and Story Maps. This allows us to provide 2D and 3D visualization of the urban landscapes, so helping users to visualize actually the ongoing reconstruction process. The technology makes this platform not just a tool for understanding the current state of reconstruction, but also to showcase the future development, so to give a bit of a window into the future, into the vision of the city of Mykolaiv. The project itself, just shortly to tell you the steps where we went through, there was a lot of solution conceptualization in the beginning, trying to understand what the platform should do. Once we kind of figured that out, we worked on the functionalities design. I would mention here that we've got a lot of help from the municipality of Mykolaiv, especially from Yevhen Polyakov, who's the chief architect. He helped us a lot to understand the specific needs of the city and thus tailor the platform according to that and not just according to what we think it should be about. One important feature is integration with the DREAM platform. This has been a discussion for the past few months because we were trying not to overlap with that platform, but rather complement, and our solution is more focused on the local level rather than the national level like the DREAM platform is doing. So we're currently also working on that, and when the platform will finally roll out in December or before the end of this year, we would have finalized also the integration with the DREAM platform. We are currently heavily engaged in data gathering and visualization configuration at the same time. So we're receiving a lot of data, mainly from our partners at One Works and Norman Foster Foundation, but obviously the platform aims at expanding at other projects, being implemented by other partners, because we're not the only ones, obviously, piloting projects in Mykolaiv. So we will be in touch with other partners soon to ask for such information to see how we can best exchange the information and then upload it and integrate it in our platform. In the future, as I said, like we're open to engaging new municipalities. Should there be a demand, the solution is going to be enhanced progressively. Obviously, new features come up according to the demands. And yes, further integration with other platforms, is that possible? Currently, we're just talking with Dream, but if there's possibilities to integrate with other platforms, we would be very interested in also doing that. Now, before I thank you, I will use the last couple of minutes to show a little bit of the platform. Please bear in mind that this is an early draft. We are only showing this for the purposes of this conference, so it's very much work in progress. We're still working on functionalities, on visuals, and the data uploading. But the concept would be pretty much this. We're planning to have a landing page for Mykolaiv that would show a bit of the context of the city, a bit of how the master plan came in life, how was this whole process, how it began, how did it get developed, then jumping into the important part, which are the pilot projects. In here, we're trying to give a bit of general information about each of the projects through text and graphic visualization. And then, if we wish to jump into the details of one of the pilot projects, for example, the Aqua Port, the link here would take you to another landing page that goes into the proper details of that pilot project. There will be a progress monitoring tool. These numbers don't make any sense now, it's just to show the idea. But this will be constantly developed by both us while the project is still going on, but also the stakeholders at the municipalities who will be trained to operate the platform, upload new information as the project progresses. We're also working on 3D maps, again, early stages of that. So we're getting this information from the partners who are developing the pilot projects, trying to showcase how the project would look like. And when it progresses, information will be updated to show the real progress, not just the vision and the plan that we have for these projects. More details include what is already in the master plans developed by OneWorks, but is detailed visualization of the urban planning process, of the separate parts of the pilot projects that combine then into the final version. One other and final aspect that I would like to discuss today is the mapping. So basically, we decided to create two maps. One, which we call a general map, so designed for stakeholders who are not interested, are not urban planners or are not architects, are not interested in too much detail, but would rather just like to see the visual part in their city. So we've created a 3D map for that purpose. I've just showed a few layers, so the red dots are damaged sites in Mykolaiv. We have pilot projects showcased in 3D, the city showcased in 3D. You have the ability to change the base map, so in case you need a different type of map, but the layers itself, which are at the core of the functionality, are very limited in this map. So we just have damages, pilot projects, and the city. While for more advanced users who would like to see more details, we have this not 3D map anymore, but one which is more functional. For example, you can see now highlighted the pilot projects, and the gradient of the colors represents one of the layers, which is the population concentration in the city of Mykolaiv. But then you would have the opportunity to play around with the layers that the map has to offer. For example, I can add the layer for public transport. You would see how the vision of the city looks in this direction, or I don't know, maybe the road network. So advanced users would not have a very hard time figuring out the functionalities of this. The core would again be the pilot projects, because this is the information that we have a lot of access to and the core of our project's work. Again, you can change the base map, play around. We still have a lot of work to do here. We're still working on gathering as much data as we can, and hopefully, I'm actually confident that we'll be able to roll it out before the end of this year. So, thank you for your attention. It was a pleasure addressing you.
Дякую, Енгель.
Дякую.
Thank you, Engel. So these are the 80 instruments that allow us to keep to the principles of transparency and openness. before our population and our partners who help Mykolaiv today. And now we'd like to move to those pilot projects that we are now developing together with the European Economic Commission of the UN and our partner with One Works, an Italian company. We have 5 pilot projects. Today we are going to present 2 of those, developed with the support of GIZ. The first project will be presented by Tamara Fortes, who is the coordinator of project UN for Mykolaiv, and she's going to tell us about the innovational neighborhoods, so the mixed-use territory that allows to join the efforts of business and city residents to pass their time, relax, and engage in the activities in this neighborhood. So, Tamara.
Good afternoon, colleagues. Good afternoon. I will present the Innovation District, which is one of our pilot projects within the Concept Master Plan developed for Mykolaiv. This project is implemented by UNECE, called UN for Ukrainian Cities. It is funded by BMZ and supported by GIZ. This part of the project is a work and creation of One Works Foundation, where our colleagues are here as well, within a large team and fruitful collaboration with the municipality. Here's my colleagues, Tatiana and Evgen, supporting us all the way through this Concept Master Plan. But like I said, I will focus on the Innovation District pilot project. This is revitalizing the area while promoting collaboration, networking, economic, and individual growth. Here you have some examples from around the world, where you can see the guidelines that we took it from. Some takeaways were integrated into our selection of site for the Innovation District within Mykolaiv. The selected site is located in a sparsely populated peninsula called Temvod, if I'm speaking correctly, across the river from the city center and along the national road leading to the airport. This area is identified in the Concept Master Plan as suitable for this densification. Here we have the site selection. You can see it's 100 hectares site, with the General's riverfront. It's located in close proximity to the shipyard site. The area it's a high environmental value due to the presence of the 2 rivers. Here you can see the existing buildings and the land ownership. Here within the site we have the National University of Shipbuilding, large retail venues and residential blocks. Most of the land is publicly owned, either belongs to the state or to the municipality, which helps in the regeneration process. Here you can see some photos with the residential area, the university, and then you can also see from the other side, the area has a lot that can be done, and this is how we are tackling it. So the master plan established main east and west access as corridors to reconnect the 2 rivers, a curvy south and north boulevard that celebrates the natural edge of the river. The urban grid identifies general open space within the district and large park between the Innovation District and the shipyard. The shipyard is this base down. And a new bridge that you can see on this map to connect with the city center. So the urban and the local catalysts to face main green and public spaces or the river, activating different zones and giving them a specific theme and character. Massing increases in height towards the river to take the advantage of unique views, as the riverfront has a considerable development value. Concentrating buildings areas help to finance the cost of public spaces elsewhere within the district. Here are some varieties of activities within the district with a mixed-use approach. Although specific areas are identified in principle, the framework will be flexible. Establishing synergies with advanced shipyard site will be key, which is the down one I already said. And two sites will bring together living, culture, education, research, and production. Here are some landscape strategies that are focused on the reconnection of the Mykolaiv people to the river while mitigating flood risks, also creating high-quality open spaces, mitigating infrastructure impact, and allowing landscape infiltrate buildings and private elements. Here you can see some of the options, modalities of public green areas that we have proposed, community garden, urban farm, co-farms, and their sites. So the landscape strategy is aiming to bring more nature, more innovation, better experiences, and community facilities to Mykolaiv. We can see the diverse area, green area within this innovation district. This is the transport strategy. So I already spoke about the bridge. The bridge is down in the red, and also a new road to connect to the airport. Here in the middle is the multi-directional access to the site between the two main roads. And then here you have the 30 km/h zone, so it's a heavy traffic limited zone. Here the road network hierarchy to minimize roadways to create a super block concept. Focus on internal pedestrian and soft mobility circulation. To the public transport, we are trying to connect the area, the innovation district site, with the major mobility hubs across the city. Local mobility hubs integrating public transport and sharing services, soft mobility network to encourage walking and cycling, and innovative and sustainable mobility solutions for internal movement. Public transport, 4 main lines will pass through the innovation district, connecting it to the main mobility hubs of the city, the airport, and the main train stations to ensure high level of accessibility by public transport for residents, employees, and visitors. To propose internal circulation strategy includes last-minute connections and a soft mobility network enhanced by the implementation of 2 electric autonomous shuttle routes, offering innovative and sustainable mobility options for residents, employees, and visitors. Here, talking about the bid-up area, we are proposing around 1 million square meters, apart from the 230,000 square meters already in the existing buildings. So this will be done in phases. So phase 1 is the redevelopment of the university campus and its immediate surroundings, serving as a primary catalyst with a diverse range of uses, including academic, research, and public spaces. Also, core of a new green corridors and initial development of the riverfront promenade, with limited demolition. On phase 2 is a comprehensive integration of the urban fabric to the west and north. The northern area, significant residential development with existing residential buildings undergoing renovation in order to facilitate this vision. Green corridors and riverfront will be extended, and cultural hub will be established. And then phase 3, the green corridors will extend north to south, and a new connection park will be developed between the Innovation District and the shipyard. So here are some residential development strategies. The macro strategy has 3 main principles: the community of residents along main pedestrian routes, creation of hierarchy of public spaces, and distribution of community facilities and commercial uses around public spaces and main routes. So the macro strategy for existing building extends beyond the Innovation District boundaries into the existing housing neighborhood north of it. It regards proposals for open spaces among buildings and public spaces. The strategy aims to transform the neighborhood by redesigning the public realm and improving pedestrian flow. Here we have done some options for how to tackle the existing blocks and the new ones. For the mid and short term, we think that the most probable to be used is B1 and B2. Here is already the strategy of building an urban block upgrade that was tested in principle on an existing building within the Innovation District. The aim of this strategy is to improve the quality of existing buildings through a modular and flexible system of new facades that are independent of the original structure, providing additional and living and open spaces to the dwellings. The advantage of this strategy is no heavy interventions on the existing infrastructure, avoid tenant relocation, and flexible and modular. Here you can see a first idea on the pedestrian eye level. And thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Tamara. І наступний проєкт, він пов'язаний.
And the following project is associated with the need that emerged in Mykolaiv. Now, as we have seen from the video, there are lots of damages in the residential part of Mykolaiv. More than 2,000 buildings were damaged. Also, Mykolaiv has districts with outdated buildings that also need innovations and renovations. All this forms requirements to new policy, residential policy in the city, and this is what the main architect of our city is going to tell, who is directly involved in the development of residential neighborhood and is going to present his developments together with international partners. Yevgen? Greetings, everyone. Happy to see you. I'd like to greet our partners who have visited this event, and that is why now I'm going to talk about the problem that we have. It's easy to talk about a project that we want to implement, to develop, or show, but it is hard to talk about problems. And it's problems not just in Mykolaiv, but all Ukrainian cities. If we ask where we are now with the residential space, what you see on screen, this kind of Halloween sketch, you'll understand that people live in such buildings. That's all outdated residential housing that we inherited from the Soviet Union. What to do with that, how we improve its quality and more energy efficient, how we improve the level of quality of housing. You can start thinking about it in before scale and full scale version, but actually the war and destruction of our housing became the impetus for people to understand that housing is the most important. When we talk about blue or green economy, about the new development, it's impossible to do that without people. And in Mykolaiv, we have to change that. So that we had advantage over other cities in Ukraine. We have to be the first ones. And whether there was renovation of house in Ukraine, yes, there was. Why hasn't it worked out? Why do we still live in energy inefficient buildings? with our AC, different windows, balconies. Why are we looking at that and we're not changing anything? What other partners of the cities are doing? There are many questions that I'm going to answer to understand the problem. The problem is, as our city mayor was saying, is also the opportunities, because if you look at it as the market of services, then all Ukrainian cities have the same problem. Like in Mykolaiv, we see that there are lots of multi-apartment buildings that are managed by people on their own. The amount of apartment buildings where people were unable to create their own condominium, and managing companies provide services there. And a huge number are just private houses, but it's in the apartment buildings. That's the main activity, business and residential, and it is from there that the development of the city stems. And 3,000 apartment buildings, and even more, is a great market of opportunities for services. When we say about renovation of outdated buildings, we're not talking about some local things for making, say, warmer or replacing windows, but it's about comprehensive measures to get a high quality result immediately, to improve the quality of life people living there, the microclimate, the cost of this housing, and the willingness to live and to stay there. This is also going to make the city more energy independent. If you look at this as this market of services, is huge. And when we are talking about outdated housing, we cannot simply demolish it and chase people out. All EU practices show that the Baltic countries, Poland and Eastern Germany, went through renovation and not demolishing and construction of something new, improving the quality of those buildings that they had. And as I'm going to say, full-scale war, 77% of damages that were accounted for, it was residential houses that were damaged. But detailed analysis of the destruction showed that, of course, there are objects that are destroyed to the ground that are not subject to renovation, but a huge amount of damaged housing can be restored, and people can still live there. But how are we going to do that so that people don't just live here during the period of war, but stay in Mykolaiv for good, as well as their children? Then we should be thinking that is possible, because the biggest amount of destruction is facades, it's roofs, windows, but these buildings remain of low quality. And that is why, and also our Minister of Restoration Mykolaiv and myself as the head architect, we are dealing with the change of residential policy and comprehensive renovation with the help of our partners from Estonia, European and UNEC. We studied their practices, which show that you can make contemporary house out of old Soviet housing. And that is why we have to develop a project like that. And we did a study of typical housing, both 5-floor in bricks and multi-story apartment in. That's like the lowest energy efficiency. All residents want improvement, but they need access to finances. This is a task both for the state and to a certain part for a city. And being here, we developed pilot projects like that, where we can try comprehensive renovation of that, and the city needs that. Apart from improving the quality, actually to launch new types of economic activities, because when we talk about comprehensive renovation, it's about production, services, and activities and new jobs. So if you're interested, sharing this experience, and I shared the experience in Tallinn conference, which gathered the Baltic states, who actually made this way, and I invited our partners to cooperation, because talking about economy and development without people is impossible. And now our task is for the people to stay in Mykolaiv. Thank you for your attention. Thanks, Yevhen. And today we repeated many times that Mykolaiv faces not just issues due to the war. It has lots of opportunities for its restoration. It's these pilot projects that show in which fields we can together restore our Mykolaiv, restoring principles of build back better, and as our mayor says, even building forward. Thank you. In 2017, Mustafa Seytametov was saying that entrepreneurs from the East now come to Kiev not to ask, but to offer. The situation is changing, and now, obviously, people from the South also come to Kiev not to ask, but to offer. So, please formulate your proposal. For Kiev, we propose to restore our Mykolaiv using our pilot projects in the field of blue economy, residential housing, industrial development. And as our city mayor says, we are going to ensure all conditions for business to be safe in Mykolaiv. When it is about blue economy, how different is it here from the rest of Europe? How yellow and blue is it, so to say? I believe that for Mykolaiv, the development of a unique concept of blue economy, because we've been forming it based on our uniqueness, and we've been forming it actually not even taking into account the concept of blue economy, but also what we saw together with urban residents and businesses, what can actually happen and implemented in Mykolaiv. And it is these projects that are presented today. This is something that the urban residents want, to see it restored and developed in Mykolaiv.
And finally, who's the author of this amazing idea to organize water transportation system in Mykolaiv? Is it going to be a river tram or something different? Well, let me reiterate myself. Many speakers before me mentioned that participatory principle in city development is very important both for city council and for the mayor. And our citizens suggest this idea about water transportation, and it's amazing because it's not just the city's idea, it's something goes bottom top to top. It's something needed by people. It's something people want to develop in Mykolaiv. It's something which is going to be useful for residents and guests of our cities. Tatiana Shevchenko, ladies and gentlemen, your applause, please. And of course, since early childhood, those who have well experimented with colors, with pastels, know that if you mix green, or if you mix blue and yellow, you will have green. So in our case, blue economy and green economy are perfectly compatible, and we are moving forwards in this sense. So after listening to these amazing and exciting presentations, we are about to have our second panel discussion. It's about human-centered approach to transformation and reconstruction of the city. So the person moderating this discussion is a real expert on architecture, on human-centered strategies, and on promotion of this idea. Julian Chaplinsky is not just architect and urbanist expert. He is also author of Chaplinsky Vlog media channel. Mr. Julian, please. Mr. President, Mr. City leaders, Mr. dear donors and guests, thank you so much for giving me a chance to take part in this amazing event today. I understand that you're all a bit exhausted, so I will try to make our discussion really interactive, passionate and emotional. So, to start with, let me invite to the stage our amazing panelist, Mr. De Carle. I'm not going to introduce him the second time. One word, company's representative, Mr. Mara Forte, once again, Fortes, please once again. The head of State Energy Efficiency and Energy Saving Agency, Ms. Zamazeva. I also invite the city's chief architect, Mr. Polyatukov, and head of Smart City UA initiatives, Ms. Nazarova. So we're about to have a very diverse panel, very diverse skill set. But I think we have a lot in common. So, you know, today I've looked through this project and I felt a little bit envy because recently we have developed many projects in Lviv. Not all of them have been implemented, but I once traveled to Leipzig, Germany, with my GIZ colleagues to explore the urban transformation experience, and I was just overwhelmed by the achievements. They set so ambitious goals, and I asked my colleague, the leader of GIZ project in Lviv, Ms. Leichman, and I said, look, it's unachievable. We don't have money, we don't have budget, we don't have so many professionals to actually do it. And Ms. Eras responded, we are in the perfect conditions now to plan, because when big money comes in, you won't have time for good plans and good strategies. So it will be mess. It will be chaotic development. And this is something I want to start our discussion with. This is a question for everyone. Could you just briefly respond? Where is this line between a healthy dream, a healthy ambition, and you know, the realistic approach? So what can be implemented in the nearest future out of this very ambitious landscape, out of this very ambitious portfolio, please? Hello, everyone. So, if you ask this question to me in 2022, I would say that we would implement everything. To now, 2024 is about to end, and it's kind of emotional swing. On one hand, we believe that we will make it, but on the other hand, sometimes we feel a bit disappointed and desperate. We are human beings. We have to dream. We have to make our dreams come true. So today, I can tell you for sure, there are no impossible things in this world. But once again, it depends on our power of will, and it depends on our ability to cope with this challenge. Ms. Hanna, please. Well, let me start with saying this. When I moved from Mykolaiv City Council to the State Energy Efficiency Agency, actually responsible for policy implementation, I asked myself the same question. We know everything, we have access to technology, we understand the challenges, we know what do we want to do, we know that we want to build back better, we don't want to rebuild what we had before the war, we want to be guided by our new prospects, we want clean air, we want clean water, we want to become part of the EU. So we kind of know everything, but how to do it? You know, actually you don't need money for this first step, but where to get funding? Because money is necessary to implement it. We need people and we need money, and of course we need community, we need engineers, we need professionals. So it was the first question I asked myself, and we created the Urbanization Foundation, which now offers these very cheap loans. We resumed the NIDA program with our partners, and it's focused on recovery and implementation of projects of this kind. So let me be honest, I very attentively watched this presentation, and I know that I listened to the presentation by the Mr. Chief Architect, and I truly believe that we can proceed with implementation of many projects in next months at public spaces, because in Mykolaiv, over 50% of buildings have the most inefficient use of resources. They are assigned G category. It's basically the worst possible category. This is the reason why we need to help this recovery process, and we need to use our resources. We need to allocate some budget money. We have a financial institution which currently cooperates with international partners and which way contribute to our cooperation. We have municipal we need to meet the needs of municipal sector, specifically in terms of renewables and energy efficiency, CO2 emission reduction, and we need to make sure to meet the requirements of the Paris Agreement, Paris Treaty. Thank you so much. Very informative response. At some point, I just started to wonder if our interpreters can cope with its tempo. But now I would like to ask our European colleagues, Giulio, Tamara, you presented amazing luxury projects. I'm an urban planner myself, and I'm just curious to know, have you engaged local community? And the most interesting thing for me, how did the local urban planners respond to it? I think they have been educated in the modernist planning system. How did they respond to your suggestions? And my second question. So within this structure, within this amazing, very organic structure of Mykolaiv, well, have you ever thought about, creating a fourth project to detailize the existing landscape of districts? No, you have so many projects with amazing budgets. So have you explored the existing landscape, and what stakeholders have been involved in your cooperation in development of these urban planning projects?
Thank you. As I said this morning, I've been impressed from the collaboration in Mykolaiv with the municipality and with local stakeholders and the local community. We have a lot of experience in planning a complex situation around Europe, and not only. But I have transparently to say that this is the first opportunity we are having with so much collaboration with the local stakeholders and the local environment. And this is making the difference in the planning process. We are discovering the power of this combined effort between all the parties. I'm sure that the situation the country and the city is suffering is playing a role in this. But it's not only this situation. I'm finding also a local character, a local spirit of collaboration that is really helping the planning process. There is an extraordinary heritage, there is an extraordinary environment of opportunities. It's a city so rich of opportunities that I really feel that even in a complex situation, and I perfectly understand the frustration sometimes of escalate the mountain, but we have to be patient all together, very committed, and trying to manage the complexity.
Okay. Tackling the question of if we have involved local stakeholder, the local community. Yes, we have several times, and we keep going like that as we believe this participatory approach is the main goal of our project. We don't want to do top-down. We want to involve people. So we have done several. We know there is a challenge of the conflict. So it's not possible to join people here and try to design together. But it's becoming more and more possible, as I can see it here now in Kiev. But in Mykolaiv, we have done several research, how do we call it? It's not research, surveys. And a lot of people have replied to them. with support from the municipality, of course. We have done every pilot project that we are proposing. We try to understand what is, one example was the pilot project for the cultural heritage. We have done a survey to try to understand the population link or emotional link to each site that was proposed by the municipality to us. So we could analyze all of this and then come up with one site that could be our pilot project within the concept master plan. So this we have done several times with the population to understand what is their priority as well, what are they interested in, and how can we get that information, and of course, led by OneWorks and the municipality, try to get this information and prioritize or do this concept master plan, focusing also on what the community wants. This is what we believe.
Дякую.
Thank you so much. So, Mr. Yuri, my question for you, what kind of opportunities do you see in terms of using smart technologies at those early stages? What kind of data can be collected? What does the city have? What do we need to purchase? What do we need to request from our European partners? Well, this is actually something I want to discuss. It's very important to have this complex, comprehensive approach, development of master plan, of urban development plan, as our colleagues put it. It can be ours, and as a starting point, we need to get understanding of what do we have on the ground. Urban planning, cadastre, register of population, register of land, register of vulnerable population, register of animals, register of trees, whatever, even the register of trees. These are some very basic things to inform development of our plans. First thing. So the second thing. Since the city is on the edge of very serious, very comprehensive development project in terms of digital transformation, it's very important to build digital infrastructure. And please pay attention. One of the mechanisms is the launch of public-private partnerships. Our foreign colleagues believe that private and public-private partnership contributes to exponential development of various projects. Second, it's engagement of communities, development of innovative hubs, accelerators that will enable us to achieve extreme development of the set of services offered to households and to businesses. So let me summarize it. We need systematic development and systematic development plan, and we need some very urgent projects that need to be implemented. Alarm system, CCTV system, security-related projects. And the third thing is to create basic registers which will lay foundation for cities development in the future. Yes, I agree. These things are important indeed. I'm about to crash test your master plan and your projects. I was really amazed to listen to your aspirational objectives, but I'm a former public servant. I'm very practical. I have a question to Mr. Polyakov. So, if we take a look at this public space, at the former plant, so it's a municipal property, it's municipal land, and all this many kilometers of embankments. How about some small buildings owned by private entities? I mean, how to officially integrate it with urban planning documents? Are you working on it? Are you cleaning this mess, this legal mess, I mean? Thank you so much for your question. I will respond to it. Mykolaiv is a smart city. We already have digital information about all infrastructure. starting with our housing stock and up to social infrastructure systems. This is the reason why we partnered so well with our Italian colleagues, because all the information was updated and relevant. It was freshly updated soon before the full-scale invasion. And now about your question. You mentioned Aquaport project. Basically, the history cleared this mess. Now we don't need any significant intervention into terrain. We just have a land plot that we have to design. We need to ensure the possibility of small vessels to approach it, and we need to rebuild this youth sports school. We need to open the space for NGOs and activities related to waterfront. I don't see any troubles here. The other side, the other bank, also has children youth school, and we have some territory we can use for commercial development, as a recreational area. So Aquaport does not provide for any implementation challenges. If we talk about shipbuilding plant revitalization, it's owned by the government, by our defense industry, but basically it's a dead asset in the very middle of the city. Someone's supposed to initiate it, to take a first step. In this case, it's our city council, municipality. It's our initiative. We want the heart of our city to be alive. If the heart of the city is dead, the implications are disastrous. No development happens, so it's open item for dialogue. I hope that this dialogue will be successful, our partners will support us, and there will be a decision either to use this public asset to some extent, or maybe, somehow develop this within the city. Well, I have some experience in dealing with landlords owned by the government in Lviv. We wanted to build Congress Center at the site of former military garages located in the downtown of the city, in the historical district. For 10 years, we have requested it. The ministers of defense change, circumstances change, but looks like it will never happen. Still, I have a question to our Western partners, Mr. Giulio, Ms. Tamara. So, you probably have had some experience with this shipyard plant reconstruction. It's owned by Ukraine, by Ukroboronprom. Have you engaged Ukroboronprom representatives, or it's just about local community and local initiatives?
We engage the local community. Of course, the next step will be engage all the stakeholders. It's clear that there is a distance between the dream and the reality, and as I said, we have to be patient and consistent step by step, and try to solve each node, whether it is a formal legal problem or technical problem. Of course, the digitalization is something that is helping a lot. And what we found in Mykolaiv is really a good base. Means that we are starting from another level compared to previous experience. So I'm positive, and I really hope that the next step could be developed very fast.
Thank you. Пане Євгене, я вас трошки помучую.
Mr. Yevhen, I will torture you a little bit more with my questions. So another thing I would like to know, in your presentations, I noticed that you heavily rely on public development, on future activities as economic drivers, and only at the very end you mentioned a few words about revitalization and energy efficiency system. And another point, I noticed that almost 1/3 of the city is private mansions, private estates, private properties. Have you had any discussion during these urban planning sessions how to, balance this density, decrease it in modern districts and increase it in these private property districts Do you have any considerations about future, given the fact that local water supply system is bombed? There are terrible infrastructural losses. So how can we reduce this distance for utilities? Mr. Yuri, maybe you did some research into it. So what's about density of this development project? Have you had any discussions? Of course we had, and it's described in the materials of our general plans. We did together with UNC and with OneWorks. It's about infrastructure. Right now we're developing infrastructural water supply projects in Korabelny district and about dense development in some parts of the city. We consider it as one of the tools to improve the city management quality and improve the quality of life of residents. It's mandatory. This is actually the reason why do we need general plan as a midterm and long-term strategic document. We have had these dialogues and we have clear understanding of it. For example, in 1998, Mykolaiv absorbed the territories of nearby communities, but they didn't integrate immediately. And now we have some challenging with these areas from urban planning point of view, from transportation infrastructure point of view. It's extra load. So of course it's a part of our foundation. Let me add a few words. Unfortunately, I haven't took part in the general plan development, but 4 years ago I had a chance to visit Mykolaiv, talk to the city leadership. We had quite a lot of discussions, and honestly I was impressed by the level of digitalization and existing plans. Of course, unfortunately, pandemic and war made them to suspend these plans. I'm sure that one day they will resume it. But smart city is not just about digitalization. It's about the life quality standards in various areas of a life: utility, housing, transportation, city management, transparency, etc. So according to the standards, there are some indicators such as number of green amenities per capita, waste management, waste disposal, waste sorting, etc., etc., etc. And of course, public transportation routes. I think in the future we will try to maximize the use of green transportation, and the standards will enable us to plan and to optimize the urban development plan we're talking about right now. Thank you. Ms. Hanna, a question for you. So you're representative of the government. You represent people, you're a person who's working in field, on site. So what kind of opportunity does Mykolaiv has? Obviously, the infrastructure sustained some damage, but maybe some of this infrastructure was a Soviet legacy burden that inhibited future development. Maybe these losses opened some opportunities in terms of energy efficiency, changing types of fuel, developing local energy sources. Do you have some ideas or some plans, maybe pilot some innovative solutions in Mykolaiv? Thank you so much for your question. Actually, as for Mykolaiv, and as for any community affected by the war, and especially affected by active combat operations, suffers severe losses and damages. But yes, indeed, it also opens new opportunities to build back better, to use new formats. I would approach your question not from a point of view of criticizing that outdated infrastructure. No, I don't think that we need to abandon the fossil fuels and fully transfer to renewables. Of course, we're moving in this area. I know that the largest wind power plant is in Mykolaiv region. Mykolaiv region is installing so many solar panels on public buildings. Mykolaiv is moving towards it, but we need to support it and at the policy-making level as well. I always use this, I like to recall this example. Once again, UNDP, our Danish partners and friends, they are like a part of family for us, almost Mykolaiv residents. But so I want to so my example is the launch of many biogeneration plants. Mykolaiv is a agrarian region, so we have great potential for storage and utilization of agrarian waste for heating. It's tremendous. We're already using it, but we just need to scale it up. So now let's talk about distributed generation is being built in Mykolaiv. We are doing everything. Of course, today we're missing potable water system, but it's a separate story, and it's a very serious centralized nature. It's a very long-term process. But we will see that government and, central government and local authorities are doing everything to help Mykolaiv to cope with this issue. Because, very well, I feel ashamed when I look in the eyes of the people. Just imagine blackouts. If blackouts happen during winter, it will be a terrible tension. No elevators, people carry these buckets of water. It's a real problem indeed. But today we're doing everything we can. Mykolaiv perfectly understand where this potential lies. So when we talk about municipal institution leaders, combined hidden power plants leaders, they perfectly understand it. They taking actions, but to scale it up, we really need support. So why have I mentioned policy makers? Thanks to UNDP and our Danish partners, we're really developing bio-boiler rooms using alternative fuels such as wood, such as sunflower waste. But if we don't have the support, if they're not doing what they're now doing in Snegurivka and Mykolaiv, it won't work, because we have the law on heat supply, which creates some obstacles for development alternative fuel boiler rooms. So this is a united ecosystem, and we need to address this challenge just to make sure that other regions and cities can develop in this area as well. But Mykolaiv has almost everything. We have biogas. We just need to put filters and biomethane, you know. Mykolaiv will be just a space shuttle city, so much advanced, and then small hydropower plants that can be installed at the waste treatment facilities. So we have almost the entire complex, the entire range of what can be used.
So that's what is used. So the professionalism of people who are heading those enterprises, that's good enough. But we need assistance from partners, because to develop all that, we need funds. That's what I would say. That's very interesting. Thanks. I also have a question to our colleagues, to Giulio and Tamara. Every city has naturally accumulated ideas, traditional ideas. Like in marketing, they like the phrase perception is everything. So the whole country imagines and associates Uzhhorod with magnolias, let's say, and wine, Lviv with the historical environment, Dnipro like rocket building, metallurgy, steel, and everything. Mykolaiv was associated with shipbuilding. And based on these projects, it looks like we are somehow moving away from this perception and declaring that we won't be able to build big ships, and we'll leave the place for small manufacturing, for some cutters, let's say. How was it perceived by local residents? Because I have an impression that if I were a native of Mykolaiv, I would perceive it as a destruction of my dream, that this has to be reborn somehow. I mean, that's also a question to Yevhen. Have you had a feeling that this is like a dream destroyed, or quite possibly you provided some alternative? Like Bilbao used to have one function, and after the construction of the museum, it changed its idea about itself. Probably I will start. Our master plan is about sustainable city. A sustainable city cannot be based on just one pillar. So the idea of saturating Mykolaiv in the future by different types of economic activities, to make it more stable. I wasn't saying that you have just one type of activities. I just meant that it is a symbol in our heads. Yes, shipbuilding as a symbol in our heads is just about one type of activities. Why? There could be others as well. Maybe you have another. I mean, I cannot say that it's just shipbuilding, but shipbuilding looks like a symbol of the city. It shouldn't be just one type of activity, but I have this impression that's just disappearing, evaporating. It cannot disappear, because we're at the Forum of Blue Economy. Everything about water and geography will remain the identity of Mykolaiv. I'll explain why. I'm just a simple resident whose father or grandfather used to work at this shipbuilding yard. And they tell me, we used to make huge ships, and now we're going to have smaller manufacture for small cutters, done by private businesses. And this simple man says, you know, it's just a crash of my dream. Like, weren't there any discussions or reactions like that? Maybe you didn't talk to people about that. There were discussions like that, and they will happen, because the people who used to work there, they're still alive. But the shootings from those ships over Mykolaiv houses, it really changes the opinions of people who live there. I cannot say that it changes radically, but there is a trend towards that. People become aware that they want to live in a city which gives them most high-quality services, and they want that more than living on a thought of shipbuilding for other countries. Okay. Honestly, I'm surprised, but it's okay, I believe you. Tamara, maybe you could add something?
Yeah, I'm not from Mykolaiv, clearly. And my perception is completely different than yours. I have been to Mykolaiv while working on this project, and I think we are building upon that image, the city of the wave or the shipyard. I think we are building upon that, but we are also, as Evgen mentioned, looking for other alternatives rather than just the ship industry to continue the growth. Like, you don't want to be stuck or in one position, so you want to evolve, and that's how I see this proposal, and I see that we want to actually walking in Mykolaiv, like, I found it was greener than what I imagined. The rivers were really beautiful, and I still feel that even though it's supposed to be a city on the wave, or let's say towards the rivers, you see that the rivers are not valued enough. It could be way more, and I think this is, as an external, this is my external opinion, just to be clear. As an external, I think what we are trying to do is to give even more visibility to your strength, and then not removing that, but continuing with that and bringing other ways of seeing that, because you're used to seeing it one way, and you want to continue that way, but that doesn't mean that it's the right way or is the only way. So there are other ways of getting the river back or getting visibility to the history of Mykolaiv. And of course, we are not trying to remove the history and turn it back and let's go in another direction. That's not our intention.
May I add something to this? By designing the aquaport and the shipyard, as we saw this morning, we are trying to support the evolution of the dream, the transition of the dream from shipyard of the past, the big ship, to a sustainable industry for the future. Sustainable industry means sustainable in terms of economics, so something that is economically viable, and sustainable in the sense that the river is in the city and people can can enjoy the presence of the river, can walk along the river on both banks, which is very much important, connected, feel the river, the presence of the river, and reconnect the river to the environment also. This is, in my opinion, the way to avoid the effect of the demolition of a dream and support a new dream, an evolution of a dream.
Ви поставили настільки цікаву.
You asked such an interesting question that Alexander Sienkiewicz also wanted to answer. Yes, Alexander, the floor is yours. Please take the mic. In answers, I actually feel that they haven't really understood the question. I haven't. No, it's all correct. Okay, let me now. Now we're going to add more time. In 2018, I met young people. They were sitting in those over there, and I said, like, if you are losing a limb, like if you fall from a motorcycle and your leg is gone, you have phantom pains. Like it seems to you that your leg hurts, but it's not there. But you still want to keep a motorcycle and you fit a prosthetics. It's never going to replace a real leg, but still you remember how it was and all that. And these phantom pains about shipbuilding are still present among Mykolaiv residents. I said that we have to rethink that, and I got such a crazy negative wave of hate. Like, does he want to take shipbuilding away from us? No, I cannot take away the shipbuilding because you cannot destroy something that doesn't exist. The Russian Federation already did that for us. Starting from 1990s, they privatized 2 out of 3 shipbuilding factories and destroyed them. That is actually, today, the main shipbuilding factory of the USSR, Black Sea shipbuilding factory, was bought out, privatized, and destroyed. And now we understand why. And about present days, current war shows that such marine country as Ukraine has no point to produce big ships. Why? Because we have an example of a flagship of the Russian army, that's Moskva, which was destroyed not by other ships, but by novel weapons, missiles and additional drones. So, just like the whole world, we have to think about a mosquito fleet, something that we can make in Mykolaiv after the war. We had representatives of Damen Company here today who said that the situation in the world has changed so much that the Netherlands are now not producing ships, even though they are doing that. They are designing those ships, and they do that in Mykolaiv. We have this heritage, this engineering thought in the university. We can continue doing that. But these ships are produced in Vietnam, in Korea, in the countries where it is cheaper. And having ensured the possibility to produce ships on the territory of Mykolaiv, will be able to do it. But when it's going to be profitable for the business, when they understand that Mykolaiv is a reliable partner, yes, so here on the drones you also have a turbine there. You shouldn't forget that the cluster associated with blue economy is also a big number of engineering and other solutions, also including turbine factory that produces gas pump turbines, which used to produce turbines for military fleet, and now it deals with other issues. So we have to diversify our economy. We have to accept that today we cannot produce those plane carriers anymore, and how, using our past, we can plan for the future, not just think how powerful we used to be. Thank you. 5 minutes added to the discussion, and actually, we're thankful to you because, apart from understanding very well what you mean, because actually I wasn't trying to claim that you stole the dream from the people, but again, having experience of an official who worked a lot with the people, I know that the euphoria behind every demolished plant, be it Lviv, Kyiv, or other cities, afterwards there are phantom pains, and there are lots of people who still, right when they see a new project of an office building or residential or mall, they immediately write, who's gonna build factories, who's gonna work at the factories. And this Soviet heritage is very, very deep in our heads. So that's why I provoked you to discuss the topic, which was a response of people to this project. Because immediately I'm going to calm you down. Myself, I like them. But we talk about human-centric approach and about local residents. And I just understand that it used to be an industrial giant of a city. It's not Vinnytsia. It used to be industry. And I believe that the amount of nostalgia that people have, even during the war, is still pretty relevant. But again, Alexander, thank you for dotting the I's and crossing the T's. And I would like to ask each participant, what is their vision? How these projects, how they should have started in the conditions that we are? Should we continue designing documents? Should we already implement in projects and make budgets? Maybe other measures to take? How do you see the development of these concepts that we had in the context of launch? What should become the trigger for those ambitious plans? Maybe we'll start from Giulio and then take turns.
I think we correctly started with this combination of long-term vision and very short-term action. And we should keep this approach. Again, we should be patient because the complexity requires commitment step by step. And having in mind that we have to check what the short-term action reflect on the long-term vision and vice versa, I think we can derive from this approach the agenda for the next steps. I think today we had a good demonstration of the advantages of the collaboration of all the disciplines working in parallel. Also in this panel, we move from energy to urbanism to design to economy. We are working for the future of the city, and I think we should keep this approach for the next steps.
But can you mention these short-term actions, or a few examples?
Now we gave some example with the cases presented today: the shipyard, the aquaport, the industrial park, the innovation district, of feasibility of very specific project. Now we have to go back to the wider scale plan and prepare the infrastructure projects to support those specific intervention. So it's a back and forth action between the wider scale and the specific project.
Тобто ми мусимо зараз.
So this means that now, having this master plan, we should come back to the short-term projects for the infrastructure, right? You believe that we should start from engineering now?
Correct. Correct.
Thank you.
This is the approach to be very practical and effective in progressing on the plan.
Thank you. Tamara?
Okay, I think this is a question that was even written in our panel, that is restoration and reimagining, no? the cities. I think restoration is the right approach, as Giulio mentioned, is the combination of both, the short term and the long term. Of course, he mentioned that in our projects, the next steps are the civil engineers. I would say that even we have a higher problem, which is the legislation that my colleague here, Anna, already mentioned, that we cannot go forward if the national legislation is not supporting these plans. So I think there is a need also for the reform to wait for this or start discussions that have already been started, already happening in urban planning documents. This is one way, I think, is like the need now, apart from, let's say, something that we have been discussing with the national government, which is the urban cadastre, which is the land. Like as you mentioned before, like in Ukraine, it's very specific. The land is also something that is specific to the country that needs to be addressed by the national government, so these plans can be implemented in the local level. So there are several steps to be taken, and there are challenges, but there are opportunities. I think we are all looking towards the opportunity of transforming the cities, of changing and modernizing, but we also need the support from the government. And that's a thing that is important. And we have, like, at least with housing policy, we have been supporting the national government with that. But I think the urban policy needs to also start moving so we can have these documents implemented, be able to be implemented.
Thank you. Pani Hanno?
Anna, please. I don't even know. It's both yes and no. We even have a joke that 15 years ago, the head department of energy was about non-traditional, it was called non-traditional energy sources. And that's why we had lots of calls from ESP experts. So that's something that we should do, but at the same time, if you don't have any arrangement, any agreement that this is going to be done, then the residents of the community, first of all, the city mayor will be told that he spends the money in vain, because I used to visit a kindergarten where there were 7 projects, 2 million each on this, and for every 2 years you have to now implement a new project. And they said, you know, we could have reconstructed this kindergarten from scratch, and now we're implementing this. So we have to be very careful, especially there are lots of programs from the international partners. So there are also 30 million euro grants for the project's implementation. Like CSIS of the US gives $1,200,000 for each project. And you can apply individually. There are lots of partners who give money for the projects. And we should first of all use these opportunities, because if this is a good project, they will be trying to find all possible resources to continue finding the money for project implementation. So therefore, to do those projects, you need to have an energy plan of the city. And if you have all the grounds, you understand what it is about. Because sometimes it happens that, I mean, we had lunch. I asked the mayor, do you have any finished projects? Because there are people who give them money for them. Well, right now I still don't have any finished projects. So there should be the highest priority, like clean water, some basic vital things. They have to be always prepared. So you also are moving towards infrastructure, right? You're thinking about the infrastructure, like Giulio said, that after the master plan, you have to step-by-step move. Yes, that's right. Okay, thanks a lot. Yes, Yevhen. Actually, I believe that step-by-step is good, but it's even better when there are lots of experts like that, and they make different steps in lots of directions, because there are target funds for restoration of cultural heritage, let's say, global climate change. These are the opportunities that should be used and that should be done with the community. Every person can see something. The stands located over there in the corner. For example, there is a draft session for school number 48, which was destroyed by 9 S-300 missiles. This is the work of Anna, who is with us, and our friends from the States, who started fundraising for that project. And it was a very interesting work. Then there is also work with the students of Construction College that we did jointly with Martin Duplantier and with Lviv Polytechnic University, the National Academy of Arts of Ukraine, its master students of architecture, and the professors of the same department, who create a new vision in different directions. And this can be implemented to have projects for these directions to attract these target funds. But what's lacking here is our colleagues from COVI, because now we have lots of their initiatives being implemented because they worked alongside. That's co-generation. This hasn't been mentioned today. And if you look at the 6 principles of the master plan, there are 4 material principles, 2 non-material ones. That's governance and engagement as non-material. We're working with that. We should keep working with that. As for 4 material ones, that's mobility, because Mykolaiv now, as you have heard, got autonomous trolley buses. They're going to be used even during blackouts, so the transportation happens. People have the chance to use public transport within the city. Also accessible housing. Then rethinking waterfront, because our participative events showed that even though Mykolaiv is located on water, the biggest problem for people in peaceful times was the access to this water. Everybody keeps talking about shipbuilding, and everybody said that there is no access to water. It's like in Kiev almost. Yes, that's how it is. So that's why, yeah. City on the water, but how you reach that water, that's the question. So what we can do now, I had an idea that by fields and visions of our planning documents, that's already happening. What should be done next in the following year? That's getting opportunities by vectors, specialized vectors, and implement those projects. Because its implementation is not just design, it's also involving experts, people who should be implementing that. If we don't do this, people are going to leave. They won't be there. And it's much harder to do that on an empty spot. It's better to do that in small pilot projects that's going to showcase that it's possible. Yeah, that's actually what I wanted to hear from you, to start from small things. It's just that put them all in the master plan canvas. So, what do you think? I'll continue what Julia was saying. I'm also for combined approach because, of course, there is a master plan, there is systemic vision, there is an understanding of how we see our city in the future, but there are urgent needs right now. When I worked in Kyiv City Council, I used to be head of Smart City project. By the way, at the time, we were helped by GIZ and also international American organizations. First of all, we had a survey. We surveyed over 1,000 Kyiv residents, totally different age categories and professions. We did electronic surveys, and we determined according what people expected from a smart city. Now, I don't want to go deep in that, not to waste everyone's time, but some strategic directions were defined where people expect change, like residential housing, utilities, transportation, citizen engagement, and so on. Of course, we defined the vectors. We compiled a plan, the smart city concept, 5-year plan for implementation of smart solutions. But there are big projects like infrastructure, network infrastructure. If you pay attention to any Ukrainian city, you'll see pillars with fiber, which is torn all the time, and that doesn't ensure sustainability for different municipal services, for residents and all that. And if you look at contemporary European cities, any city in Switzerland, Germany, you won't see a single wire on those things, because it's all underground, it's all under the pavement. For sure, this needs full reconstruction of the whole city. You have to disrupt the pavements, the roads, so that's long-term projects that require finance, time, and labor. But time doesn't wait, and even now, the residents, especially during the time of war, they need notification systems, they need CCTV, they need to communicate with the community, so introduction of mobile apps, so on. And having in mind those long-term prospects and the solutions that are worked out in the general concept, we need to immediately introduce those solutions which the community needs and which they need now. So I'll repeat myself. I'm for combined approach. Thinking about the future, you have to implement the projects that are needed now. Yevhen, is there understanding now what percentage of the population left the city? Yevhen, which number we have to fight for to bring the pre-war population level at least? It seems to me that now is how to fight for people that are still in the city. Well, that's it goes without saying. Well, in 2022 and 2023, the city lost about 40% of the population, but the occupation of Kherson, actually the situation changed a little bit. Now we have much more people. You can see it in the streets. There is an understanding in the use of resources like waste disposal, but most important is to have a population that can give development and talk about the future so that it remained in the city. We have to implement small projects, but now, and that's why we have to do it.
Okay, thank you so much. So why am I asking this question? Because I believe that at least our standard requirements, though in urban planning area, are always human-centered. They are always based on the number of population, to be honest. Our Western colleagues want to make cities more comfortable, to attract people to the city, to increase the economic circulation and turnovers. While the legacy of Soviet era is to design the city for a specific number of population. We will build 5 factories there, so we need housing for workers, we need a certain number of hospitals, etc. So your concept, is it about boom of return of people, or it's about gradual increase of population, or have you even discussed it? Or you just hope, your plans are just based on hope. Plans based on hope are not a plan, I believe. We have considered various concepts to address this situation, and in our urban planning project we applied the realistic approach. We didn't talk about boom of returnees. Please, Mr. Mara.
That we have done a demographic assessment with 3 different scenarios. Worst base scenario, that the population will stay the way it is now, the worst case scenario, and the best case scenario is when people return. So we have reviewed the population and the ideas to build upon this master plan. We were not just not considering the population. We are considering all cases, and we have decided to go with the base case scenario and then move forward with that. But it has been also done this demographic assessment.
Thank you. Пані Ганно, як...
Ms. Hanna, my next question is to you. I think it's very challenging without the understanding the trends of population quantity. Is it going to decrease or increase? So it's very difficult to make any energy calculation. I'm not an energy engineer, but I'm asking you, do you have any considerations of how to act in these various scenarios, base case, worst case, best case, in terms of energy efficiency? So I'm responsible for energy saving and energy efficiency. We always have to decrease the energy consumption. We need to plan for decrease. This is the reason we take all energy efficiency steps possible to decrease energy consumption in any scenario. As compared to 2021, as compared to our baseline, we need to reduce the load on our energy system. This is the reason why we need to implement all potential measures to reduce consumption. First of all, we need to work with public buildings, public spaces. And right now, these traffic jams in Mykolaiv are often seen on weekends. It's a busy city. We have many people and high consumption. It doesn't really matter from the energy saving point even if people return, these people will be growing children in the city, raising children and fostering the future of the city. And I believe that energy efficiency is a major part of economy. Yes, we can demine. Yes, we can rebuild. But energy efficiency is important. We need to create new jobs and new comfortable conditions for people. Not just cold apartment with insufficient heating, but comfortable temperature. And we also need to save costs. We have our European partners, and they can confirm that we don't meet European energy efficiency screening directives, even approximately. We're not even close. Our values are almost 2 times higher than their threshold, their red lines. We are facing very severe challenges, and it's also important for saving budget costs. And city can actually spend the savings on rebuilding rather than heating the ambient air. So I stand for energy efficiency. We need to plan it comprehensively, regardless of return. And now we have quite many people consuming energy in the city, and we need to foster changes in lifestyle and culture to promote more careful consumption. Mr. Julian, your extra time is over. Well, I have the very last question about energy and about efficiency. So we have our partners from Denmark in this room. And there was an interesting case in 1970s when there was an oil crisis. Denmark's economy was really affected, and after 1971, I guess, the energy consumption requirements have become 70% stricter. So people were struggling financially. Everything was bad, but suddenly the energy pricing rates increased. Can I ask you for your perspective on energy efficiency? We don't have time for slow dance. We need some quick and radical steps. I traveled in southern cities, and I still feel the Soviet legacy. Government must do it for us. Government must give it to us for free. So how to find this balance between objective reality, the cost of this kilowatt, and the financial standing of people? So what's your question? What do you think? Where to go? Use unpopular reforms? Or maybe there is an opportunity to make it easier for people. It won't get any easier, I can tell it for sure. But honestly, energy efficiency actions that can be done at home could have been done back in 2021, 2022. Just take a look at the people who have subsidies in private house and people who don't. Those who don't have subsidies improve their windows, put panels on the roofs. But those who have subsidies open windows during the winter. This winter is warm, the next winter will be cold, they have cracks in the windows. So I am just now talking to our policymakers. We need to address this issue globally. Energy efficient things and boilers. It's a death of energy efficiency. We need to revitalize centralized water supply. It's a comprehensive task. And please let us remember that we are one single ecosystem, central executive authorities, policymakers, implementing parties, local authorities. We need to help people to develop proper understanding and achieve proper implementation. This is the reason why we have this regulation. Partial compensation of projects by the government. It includes local support system for population, but honestly, we need to fight for it. We need to sanction people who don't do it. You know, it's much better to collect all the subsidies and install windows for them. Do this also energy efficiency measure within 1 year, and we will save for 10 or 15 years to come. It's a comprehensive task that must be addressed at all levels of the government. So should I summarize it? Yes, by the way, and you can also answer my question. You're a person who can find the good words. So, you know, one city, urban planning is at 0 level. Other city, urban planning is not the best. Could you please comment on Mykolaiv's urban planning status? Okay, thank you for reminding me. By the way, I highly appreciate all the participants to these panels, and especially Mr. Mayor, who has a clear understanding of what I'm saying about. We are on the same page. I actually less experience in dealing with people, more experience in dealing with urban planning, but I believe that the city has tremendous potential. I would fight for this human capital. I understand that we have a lack of funding, and I think, but right now we have a good chance to keep that scale. I don't know if there is any other city around with so many water resources. It's something incredible, and I think it's actually key to the solution: access to water, association with these water resources, starting from identity, branded city brand to master plans. These things are taken into account. And just to summarize, I believe that these ingenious ideas must be implemented step by step. One thing at a time. We need to develop urban planning documents, micro-projects, estimates, grant applications, and to create hope for people, to show it. It's not something ephemeral, but these are plans that once will be implemented, step by step and brick by brick. I wish much success for Mykolaiv. And maybe once I'll be honored to join this design effort. Ladies and gentlemen, Yulian Chaplinsky, a person able to talk about small city of Dubno for 52 minutes, and the audience is really excited. Just imagine how much he can say about Mykolaiv. Please applause. And please applause to all our panelists. Thank you so much. You can come to your seats. And we have only one last point of our agenda, and it's our last remarks. And I first welcome to our stage for closing remarks Mayor of Mykolaiv, Mr. Alexander Sienkiewicz, who plays such an essential role in our today event. But please remember that I took away 5 minutes for interfering with the discussion. I don't need much time. Don't be concerned. Dear friends, first of all, let me express my sincere gratitude for coming here. We have arranged this event for you. Since I am an IT engineer, I am background in IT. And in IT, everything starts from scratch, from zero, not unit by zero. And in this countdown, the 0 point was UNDP. UNDP that invited us to create this unit for you. We facilitated this meeting, this event. This first event is a starting point, 0 point, to learn, to try, to pilot, and to lead by example. I believe that any project is successful when this project has parents. And at this meeting, we have a father of this project, Mustafa Said Ahmedov. Applause to him. Mr. Mustafa, could you please stand up? He is from Mayors for Economic Growth project. He and his team did so many efforts to make sure that the zero eventually turns into a unit. I would like to Mustafa, please don't take your seat, because you will be the last one to speak. Thank you so much, dear partners. Thank you, the government of Denmark. The government of Denmark assumed patronage over our region. I'm sure that Mr. Kim would say so many warm words unless he had the urgent need to leave this meeting. But this unique cooperation between Mykolaiv region and Denmark government, the Danish nation, I would say, is a unique case and unique example for us as cities and region on how to cooperate with international partners. And Denmark. Denmark is a small country with big heart. You know, big country thinks. Do we need to give the thanks? Denmark's proposed, they did it. When everyone was thinking about fighter jets, Denmark already proposed fighter jets to us. So another round of applause to Danish taxpayers, to Danish nation, the people of Denmark. We have so many people, so many of our friends and allies, USA, the GSZ, NEPCO, who currently also cooperates with Mykolaiv. It's very difficult to remember everyone, but help your entire team. Thank you, the team of local regional military administration. Thank you, the team of Mykolaiv City Council for making it happen. And of course, today, we are doing everything for people. So thank you so much, dear people, representatives of civil society, Mr. Vashilenko, who's not a city council officer, but he still joins this project. And of course, today we talked a lot about various projects. We talked about treatment of our patient. This patient desperately needs help, but we don't have a magic pill to cure him. It's just one treatment option that we suggest and that we would like to use. We're learning, we're sharing our experience. The purpose of our today events is to do it, and we wait for your feedback. Is it going to work? We hope that you will borrow our experience and that you will share your feedback on how to improve it. We have so much work waiting for us ahead. It must be done. And we know that great success, the road to great success is made of small victories. But I would like to express my appreciation to the armed forces of Ukraine, boys and girls who risk their lives. So today we can facilitate this amazing event here at this hall. Another round of applause for them, for IFU. For our heroes. Thank you. And I hope that, armed forces are fighting today to enable us to plan the future of our countries, our territories, our towns and villages and cities. And I wish that our next meeting happen in Mykolaiv, in peaceful, prosperous city of Mykolaiv, of victorious country, Ukraine, so we can talk on site and not just discuss Mykolaiv, but actually see the city. Please pay attention to Mykolaiv's logo. It's not our coat of arms, it's our tourist logo. And there are two things on it, two sails competing with each other. One is catching up with another, and these waves from left to right are pushing these vessels, and we have the wind that is driving them forwards. We don't want to just tell about Mykolaiv, we want to compete with other cities for businesses and for people. We want people not just to return to Mykolaiv, but to move to Mykolaiv. So everything voiced in this hall is just a small piece of large plan I'm sure we will once complete together. And we will, I mean Mykolaiv residents, Mykolaiv team, first team, second team, third team, we are developing this strategy. It will be our cookbook for how to build Mykolaiv. Of course, our life won't be enough to make all these plans come true, but we will make a great contribution. And of course, Mr. Andrei, thank you so much. He was so soft and gentle with everyone. I know how he usually facilitates his talk shows. So I expected he would just interrupt me, okay, cut off the microphone, but the flow was soft and smooth from one panel to another, just like Southern Bug River. So thank you so much. Another round of applause for our moderator. Mr. Mayor, of course, it's not just sales, it's also letter M. which means not just Mykolaiv, but also metropolitan. And if you're developing a local transportation, you definitely need to think about metro, about subway. Thank you so much. Dear colleagues, our conference, it's time for us to wrap up our conference, Mykolaiv City on the Wave, organized by Mykolaiv City Council together with the Ukrainian Association of Business Support Central, Mykolaiv Regional Military Administration, as part of Mayors for Economic Growth initiatives funded by the EU and supported by the Innovation Foundation Fund, funded by the Kingdom of Denmark. Let me remind you that the projects are implemented by the UNDP. And today, here with us, we have mentioned him many times, Mr. Ametov, the head of Regional Development Project of UNDP in Ukraine. And today I quoted Mr. Mustafa saying in 2017, and we hope that today he will tell us something we will cite in 2031, in the next 7 years. Thank you so much, Mr. Andrei. You set a real high bar for me. I'm not really a public person. I don't visit conferences often because I'm so busy. I have so much work to do. And when you visit some events, when you think, oh, maybe I wasted my time. Why did I even go there? But please, dear audience, rest assured, if you knew yesterday how this event would pay. Ask yourself a question. Would you go to this event if you knew what it's going to be? Please raise your hand if you would. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here with us. Thank you so much for all the visitors and everyone who had to leave. I know everyone is so busy, but I sincerely appreciate all our today's audience. You did this event, you made this event by your participation, by your opinions, by your thoughts. The most important thing for me is to know what happened next, what happens next. So thank you so much for making this event possible from organizational point of view and from content point of view. Trust me, so many people have worked to make sure that we have things to discuss today. So thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Vitaly and the regional administration team. Thank you, Mr. Alexander Sienkiewicz personally and his team, Mr. Vitaly Lukov, Ms. Tatiana Shulichenko, Mr. Artem Vashilenko. Thank you everyone for working on it. Of course, thank you partners, UNAC, OneWorks, COVI, people who are not here in this room, but they're still here with us. They have done a lot of work. And I'm sincerely grateful to our international partners, the European Union, the government of Denmark, and other partners who invest in us during this time of great challenge, who support us in many areas. It's very valuable for us. And today, Ms. Anna Zamazeva mentioned the idea that all these plans need funding. I have a good news for you. Mayors for Economic Growth project funded by the European Union is about to finish its current stage this year, but we're about to have the next phase. And this next phase will start on February 1st next year. And as part of this next phase, we will be focused on supporting municipalities and fundraising, which is desperately needed right now by Mykolaiv and by many other citizen communities all over Ukraine. So this work continues, and I, as representative of UNDP, is truly honored and privileged to stand with you, to offer you this much-needed support. And please rest assured, we'll stay with you and we will continue to work together. And of course, I join these words of appreciation to our amazing moderators, Mr. Alexander Yurchuk, Mr. Chaplinsky, and Mr. Andrei. Please accept my sincere gratitude, because you have created the atmosphere of your event. You guided us through it. So please accept my sincere gratitude. And also, maybe I will reiterate it, but of course there's never enough gratitude. I'm grateful to our defenders who every minute and every hour win time for us and win opportunity for us, so we can implement this project and we can work on development of Ukraine. Glory to Ukraine. Glory to heroes. Dear colleagues, it's time for us to wrap up this conference for today. But of course, we don't wrap up forever. We have so much work ahead. And when Mr. Mustafa mentioned the guide, I remembered how I once came to Mykolaiv, to the old train station, down the hill, and you could reach the avenue, which is now called the Peace Avenue, just in 10 to 15 minutes. Then I went to Mykolaiv Cargo, then I visited Mykolaiv Cargo train station. And now I've learned that another train station is about to emerge. It's a living testimony. Even despite the enemy tries to sow death in our country, we survive, we are resilient, and we will prevail, and as our next step, we will build back, etc., etc. So thank you so much, everyone. The gravity force you create by your hard-working efforts can make miracles. You mentioned Denmark is a small country, Australia is a large country, but Denmark is closer and Australia is more remote. And now we have a world-renowned person from Australia who spent several days just to reach Ukraine from Australia and contribute to the future development of Mykolaiv. It's a very illustrative case. It's your merit, it's his merit. And by the way, I also express a word of gratitude to our technical team, facilitating slideshows, sound, etc. And of course, to those who prepared our today's agenda, the agenda of this conference, of this event. Because they don't like repetitions. So we don't have second lunch break. But we do have second networking sessions. And so you're welcome to stay here until 7 p.m. Thank you so much. Wish you fruitful communication and enjoy and fruitful work. Thank you.